Hey there, boys and girls, welcome back to Back Pocket Game Reviews, and today we're going to talk about why digital games are eventually going to overtake physical games. Okay, cool, you ready? I want you to take off any upset point of views you may have by me saying that. We're just going to kind of explain the facts. I'm going to explain what the benefits are to digital games. We're going to go from there. So, according to several statistics, we're going to specifically cite the one from Statista, which they write, the statistic provides data on computer and video game sales in the United States from 2009 to 2017, broken down by delivery format in 2017. So, this is off of 118 million people downloading games in the United States. It estimated in 2017, 21% of games sold were physical, while 79% were digital. And yes, this does include the PC market, which obviously PC makes up over 50% of the gaming market. They're pretty much all digital. Steam is pretty much the ruler of the PC world right now. So, if we were to kind of rule that out of the statistic, if we take that away, most console games right now are saying that anywhere from 30 to 60% of their sales are coming in digitally, depending on the game. And that could be broken down into different things. I would assume some of the games that are only selling 30% might be a little dicier, like games people aren't really too sure, like, this game may suck. Sometimes if I'm really up in the air, like say for example with Anthem, if I buy Anthem, it's probably going to be a physical copy, mostly because I don't trust EA, and there's that part of me that's like, EA is going to screw this up. I'm not going to enjoy this. So I understand where physical does have its benefits at times. And a lot of you go, oh, well, you can't return a game if you don't like it on digital. That's not true. That actually depends on the platform you're on. Right now, Xbox and Steam both have the same digital return policy, which is 2 weeks, and as long as you haven't played it for more than 2 hours. So if you boot the game up for an hour and you're just like, man, this is trash, Xbox and Steam will let you return it. Nintendo has no digital return policy, and PlayStation's is as long as you didn't download it, you can return it. So that's pretty much no return policy for PlayStation. And even if they do refund you, it's going to be into your PSN wallet, not back to your card, which is also kind of crappy. Now, with that being said, as time goes on, obviously, PlayStation's going to want to be more competitive towards Xbox. So if Xbox is pulling in more digital sales, like a larger percentage than what Sony is, Sony will probably start implementing those same features. Which, another very interesting piece that we have going on right now in this particular argument, and I would think of this more like a social experiment. You have the Epic Game Store right now that exclusively signed Metro Exodus, right? And then you have the Steam Store. So Steam takes 30% of a game's earnings. 30% of your revenue goes to Steam if you're selling your game on Steam Store. Now granted, Steam does have a lot of features built in, like chat and stuff like that, but those are things that the game developers could have built right into their own game. Epic Store takes 12%. GameStop, like let's say you wanted to sell that game in GameStop and it's not a digital copy, it's a physical copy, GameStop makes anywhere from 5 to 10%. That's it. But then you also have to total in cost of production on the disc, cost of production on the case, the cover art, all the other stuff that's going on to it, and then shipping it. So it's not really apples to apples there, but I just thought it was really interesting to hear how much a lot of these stores are taking percentage-wise out of the publisher's cut. Now, I don't necessarily agree with the move of going over 100% to the Epic Store with Metro, but the interesting point here is the price of the game went down to $50. That is a huge price difference. If I sell a game for $60 on the Steam Store, Steam is taking $18 out of that $60 game. That's almost a third of that game, for those of you who can't math too well. But you should be able to figure that out by 30%. That's almost 1/3 of the game's total cost. So I am all for competition. Competition makes things healthy. It's a great way to be. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, well, if everything goes digital, there will be no competition. So that's actually where we're wrong, because Sony and Microsoft will always be competing against each other. It's always how it's going to be. Now, if all of a sudden, let's say Microsoft pulled out and then it's just Sony, yeah, then there is no competition. I get it. Some of you are like, oh, why didn't you say Nintendo? Nintendo has their own niche market, so let's not get into that. Some of you are also like, oh, well, I like to resell a game. So let's be straightforward here. Let's really pay attention to this. Within 30 days of a game coming out, most of them go down half price now. They don't stay there, but most of them you can find on a sale after 30 days for about 30 bucks. So if I know that, if I'm someone who's aware that games are dropping in price that quickly, it's really hard for me to want to buy your used copy at $40 when I can get a new one for $30, meaning that you may be lucky to get 20 to 25 bucks out of that game. Making what GameStop's trade-in is almost seeming good now. Weird how that's working. The prices of games fluctuate so much. They don't hold very well, and the only time they do hold is a Nintendo game, because Nintendo games rarely go on sale. They are essentially the Tesla of the gaming market. You don't discount your product. That's Tesla's motto. If you discount it, you're saying it's not worth what you're charging for it. I don't disagree with the concept, I'm just explaining it. I don't necessarily agree with the concept either. It's kind of like a double-edged sword. Like, I get it, I want to back it, but it's, oh. And I mean, especially when you look at games like Fallout 76. I could have picked up Fallout 76 literally a week after launch for 30 bucks. And I don't feel burnt because I spent full price. But game prices fluctuate a lot now. And a lot of the digital sales are more drastic than most of the physical sales these days. And a lot of you may wonder, why is it that a digital game still costs the same amount as a physical game? Well, according to Reggie of Nintendo of America, because we all know everybody loves Reggie, he actually stated it was because they didn't want to upset their retail partners. There is a concern that if they started reducing the price of a game digitally, they're then taking sales away from retailers, who in turn will then stop selling their hardware and their software. And, well, if you don't have the hardware, it's hard for them to digitally sell you software. So right now it is a cohesion thing, at least in terms of Nintendo. I would probably like to go ahead and safely assume it's probably a cohesion thing for a lot of companies, because they're like, oh, we don't want to upset the different stores, and we don't really want you to be like, we're not going to sell your product, especially in the case of Walmart, who typically gets to dictate that you sell your product cheapest in their store, or at least at the same price you sell it in other stores. So that's kind of also where that's probably coming into play a little bit. Now, some of you also like to say that you don't own the game if you have it physically. It's not true. Every game I've ever purchased, I can actually re-download, whether it be on the 360. None of them have ever been pulled, except for in the instance of some of them may have multiplayer only. There are games that have released with multiplayer only, SOCOM being a good example, and the online shutdown. But the online is shut down for those who own the disc too. And then some people might say, oh, but what about the 007 Activision game? Well, so that's kind of a rare occurrence, but if you purchased it, you can actually rebuy it. You just have to go under your Xbox account, not rebuy it, but re-download it. And unfortunately, you gotta be really leery about James Bond games, because so many different people own the rights, and the rights change hands so frequently. Anyone at any point can come up and be like, take your game down. We own this and you didn't have our permission. James Bond games are a stay away from. I know that's sad. Some of us really like James Bond, but it is what it is. Your disc that you love so much is also just DRM at this point. And what do I mean by calling it DRM? Well, your game has to install to the hard drive either way. And 90% of the time, it utilizes your internet connection over the disc, because the internet connection tends to be faster depending on the system you're playing on. So for example, I usually play on Xbox when I'm playing online games, and I can tell you from owning both consoles, even though I play more on my PlayStation, my Xbox utilizes my network supremely well. A full game can take about 20 minutes for me to download. I have decent internet, and I understand that not the whole world does. However, when you say you don't have decent internet, you can always start your download several days now before the game even comes out. So even if you're like, oh man, it would take 48 hours for me to download this, that's why it preloads now. That's a big part of that. That game's just ready to go right at midnight. I even have my updates all installed. Just ready. We're ready. So they are doing a lot to try to make digital more competitive, to make it more of an option for you. And a lot of that's because, well, the developer gets more of a cut, the publisher gets more of a cut. Now, most publishers I don't give two shits about. However, I do like a lot of developers. There are a lot of developers that don't really involve shady practices. There are a lot of publishers that love to have those developers involve shady practices. A great example would be Bungie now breaking away from Activision and kind of saying that they're going to do their own thing with Destiny. They are going to make Destiny what they want it, which I'm really happy to see Activision go, or Bungie go off on their own, because Bungie's easily one of my favorite game developers of all time. Now, there are some other benefits that are kind of odd but enjoyable on, well, digital downloads. For example, I have two PlayStations in the house. There's one right over here, right to the side of me. My wife games right up here. This is where she streams at when she's streaming, right here in the bedroom. And if I buy one copy digitally, because we game share, where I'm signed in as her PlayStation as my main account, and then my account's just on the downstairs one, so I can still access all my games. Well, now we only have to buy one copy of a game for both of us to play it at the same time. I bought one copy digitally of Call of Duty. Me and her play Call of Duty together all the time. It's called game sharing. It's easily probably the best advantage that digital gaming offers you. You can game share with anyone. I would make sure it is a close friend, because you are going to be signed in on their account. But then you don't have to sit there and have like friends who don't have the game and can't play together. Game sharing is awesome. If I didn't do that, if I didn't game share, I would have had to buy two copies of the game, and physically that'd be $120. I would then be lucky by the time that we traded them in if I got $10 per copy out of GameStop, meaning at most I would have gotten $20 back, still dropping $100, whereas I only paid $60, meaning I got a pretty good deal. That works out much better for me. And there's a lot of times where I don't know if she's going to want to play a game. I don't necessarily want to have to switch the disc or worry about her having to come down and get a disc. I don't have to worry about my kids breaking a disc. And I get it. Some of you are like, oh, it's a Blu-ray. It's really hard to break. I don't think you understand the destructive power of children, okay? Children can break anything, especially your hope, morale, feeling like the future is going to be great. I'm just kidding. Those were jokes. Don't take it so seriously. And at some point, everything is going to go all digital. I'm not saying it's going to be tomorrow. I'm not saying it's right around the corner. But it is something that is now becoming a looming possibility. I don't have to go to a store. I don't have to be badgered to get your rewards card. And if it was just the rewards card, most people wouldn't be bothered. But then I have to be badgered for the game protection guarantee. Then I have to be bothered for, do I want to pre-order anything? Then, if I'm buying a new copy, I'm going to be told about how the used copy is cheaper. Did you want to get the used copy and save yourself $5 a day? No, I don't. I actually just recently renewed my PowerUp rewards card due to me trading some stuff in, so I actually got more out of it. Long story, I have a PowerUp rewards card again. I went like 8 months without one. I know. Shame. My bad. So I'm just saying, every time I go into a GameStop, even when I send my wife in for a product, they have had her call me to ask all of these questions to me. It's not, I understand your job is on the line, I get it. It's not the associate's fault. Do not blame the associate for this. If they want to keep their job, and if they want to keep hours, this is what they have to do. And don't get me wrong, if you do shop at GameStop a lot, yeah, sure. You should probably get a PowerUp rewards card. I'm not gonna lie to you, that's probably a wise idea if you're buying used games at a GameStop, even if you're trading stuff in frequently. So, you can avoid that particular interaction. It's something you can avoid. You can avoid being in there when ma'am freaks the hell out in the GameStop and you're like, shit, I need to get out of here before I get punched in the face. You don't even have to worry about your quick escape and where the nearest fire exit is inside of your GameStop because, well, you're not in GameStop. You downloaded it. You can avoid that human interaction. And while I don't necessarily agree with avoiding human interaction, it's a convenience factor. Some people don't have a car. Some people may have the nearest store being 30 miles away. I mean, there are a lot of different conveniences to both. Oh, well, my internet connection is too slow. Yeah, well, some people don't have a store close by. It's pretty easy to just click download several days in advance on your PlayStation. I had Kingdom Hearts ready to go. That's how I stream these night of release. I mean, we're moving towards that era. As I said, the disc is basically just DRM. The game that is on that disc is so broken. It's that game before day one update. And have you seen what games look like today before the day one update? It's bad. It is really, really bad. Some of them won't even let you play the game without the day one update. So all I'm saying is it has no difference in how you own it. Literally, legally, the physical and the digital are treated the exact same way. And even crazier, think of it this way. How long ago was it, oh, I would never buy all my movies digitally? You know where all my movies are? Almost all my movies are right here. Almost all of them are on this phone. Yeah, that's insane. They're also on the TVs, they're everywhere. Again, don't have to worry about the kids scratching them. It's real convenient. And digital's usually a little bit cheaper than physical day of release, especially when it comes to 4K movies. And sometimes you can buy a physical copy, which comes with the digital copy, then you can sell the physical copy and you paid even less. Just giving you some ideas here. So, it also wasn't that long ago before it was, oh, I would never buy music digitally. I love my CDs. I used to have a huge binder of CDs in the car. I had a 6-disc changer in my Eclipse when I had my Eclipse, okay? With one of the little remotes that came out of the floor because it was wired from the trunk. Yeah, I was that guy, alright? I liked my music. Really liked a lot of different rap music at that time. I was a little bit of, you know. And it's weird because, like, I never thought I'd be... I was one of the last people to adopt like an MP3 player. I bought a Zune. I had a Zune. I really liked the Zune. One day we'll do a video on why the Zune was superior to the iPod. It actually was too. Like, that's not even a joke, which is the sad part. But now, how do you get your music? When's the last time you bought a CD? Some of you out there might still buy vinyl, so I get it. If you're one of those music purists and you love the sound of vinyl, but even with most downloads, you now have formats that are so crisp and so pure for music audio that almost everyone's on here. I pay for a Google Red subscription, which comes with Google Play Music. So for the same price as Spotify, I have Google Red and YouTube Play Music. I see no ads on YouTube because of that, which is just fantastic and swell. Of course it rolls off the bed. Why wouldn't it? I throw something and it's just like, we're gonna bounce on every corner and roll off. That's right, I know how to replace phone screens. But we're moving towards the future, and that is eventually going to happen. I'm not saying, as I said, it's going to be anytime soon, but even a lot of your physical collector's editions, they have digital download codes inside. They don't even have an actual disc anymore. So it is a very near reality. There's even rumors that one of the next Xbox next-gen consoles is going to be discless. It's not going to have a disc. It's going to discount the system to you because everything's going to be downloaded onto the console itself. Which is kind of a cool concept, really, if you think about it, because I'm paying less now because you didn't have to put that piece of hardware in there. So it will be interesting to see how all this plays out, especially with, you have Game Pass coming out now, which is like the Xbox Netflix subscription, and it is pretty good. It works very well. You download the games to your hard drive. It doesn't even try to use game streaming, even though Microsoft is developing game streaming right now, which game streaming could also be another way the future goes. We'll really see how that all pans out, but I am interested in your opinions. Are there parts of this that you didn't know? Maybe you didn't know that Xbox had a digital game return policy. Maybe you didn't know about game sharing. Where are your hang-ups with physical? What is it that bothers you about a physical disc, or bothers you about having digital? Why do you like one or the other? I'm curious to what your thoughts are and why. We kind of touched on this on a previous video, and I was like, we're gonna do a full video just on this. We're just gonna talk about this topic. So I am curious to what you guys feel. You let me know in the comments down below. Also, if you'd like to follow me anywhere else, like my PSN, my Xbox, Patreon, Teespring, anywhere that I am is all listed in the description box down below. Also, don't forget to drop a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. Also, for those beautiful, beautiful people out there who share my content, I love you guys. Keep in mind, I see that when you do it on Twitter. Make sure you @ me, because I like seeing when you guys share that stuff too. And if you're new, don't forget to click the subscribe button, ding the bell. The bell will sometimes tell you if I'm uploading videos or not. Fingers crossed. And I'll see you all soon with plenty more content coming for you, so stick around.